We are literally a few days away from arguably the best matchup the UFC could put together in this year. We've got Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. We've got, even in the co-main event, we've got Khamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker. The MMA world, MMA fans, UFC fans are going crazy about it, and we are excited for this matchup because it is the power puncher versus the best boxer in the world. Remember when Max Holloway was ducking all those punches and saying, "I am the best boxer in the world"? And it seems as though the UFC is unbothered. The UFC does not seem as excited as we are. They seem to give zero fucks. And I say this because we have got the bare minimum when it comes to promoting this fight. The marketing for this fight has been dull and gray. The only thing we have gotten that is not part of the usual routine of here's an embedded video, here's a UFC countdown, and yeah, we're gonna have them meet for a press conference a few days before the fight, was the Zoom interview that Max, or the Zoom face-off that Max and Ilya had, which was surprisingly different to what we have been getting from the UFC. Listen, and these are people who are hugely famous. Like, Max Holloway is beloved in the MMA world and he has the entire Hawaii behind him. And then you've got Ilia Topuria. This dude, I was watching the countdown video and I was looking at this man's house and wondering which paychecks is he getting, because he is definitely not getting the Demetrius Johnson, who was defeating every flyweight that was coming his way, paychecks. This man is on a different level because that house was absolutely beautiful. That house in Madrid was absolutely beautiful. And for as much as the UFC appreciated the Irish fans for what they did for Conor McGregor, for how they turned Conor McGregor into this global superstar, trust me, the Spanish, the Latin fans will do the same for Ilia Topuria. The reason that footballers like Messi and Ronaldo are massive is not because of, okay, football is the biggest sport in the world, or soccer is the biggest sport in the world, but it's also because the Spanish fans pushed that rivalry. Ronaldo, Messi. You look at Netflix shows like, what is it called, Money Heist, how popular those actors went on to become and how much followers they have compared to other series and shows actors. It's mainly because it is a Latin show and they have the Latin fans behind them. So imagine if the UFC did the appropriate marketing for Ilia Topuria, we could essentially have someone who is a megastar, but instead we get the usual embedded vlogs, we get the usual UFC countdown, we get, oh, these are 5 fights that make Ilia Topuria must-see TV. These are 10 fights that make Max Holloway the most dangerous man. These are, you get the gist. We are getting the usual blend of boring marketing from the UFC. And it feels as though the UFC has gotten to this point where they're like, listen, we have our usual fans who watch every pay-per-view, and then maybe the few who come in for a big fight, we're okay with that. And the main problem I have deduced for this is the ESPN deal. Ever since the UFC signed that ESPN deal, they have cared zilch about the pay-per-views because they have guaranteed money every year. So the pay-per-views, what I believe is that ESPN now owns the pay-per-views. Whatever UFC sells for the pay-per-views, that's ESPN's cut, and then UFC just gets money for providing shows and fights to ESPN and etc and all that gooby gabby stuff. Hence the UFC no longer discloses their pay-per-views, hence they don't seem to really care that much. And why you see someone like Amanda Nunes get paid $1 million by Dana White even though her pay-per-view numbers were like 10,000, it makes no sense. It makes zero sense. And this ESPN deal, in my opinion, has ruined what the UFC once was great at. We remember Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor because the UFC was in every country. They were in Ireland, they were in Brazil, they were in America, they were everywhere promoting that fight. We got the iconic when Conor McGregor is ripping Jose Aldo's picture in a Brazilian club. Those moments, you had Dana White, who now hates Francis Ngannou, but back then, for those of you who may not know, Dana loved Francis so much he would go in every interview telling people that Francis hits like a Ford Escort and this man will demolish anyone. You have to watch him, he's the next Mike Tyson. And now we get Dana White promoting fights through an Instagram reel or an Instagram story saying, you guys can't miss this. He doesn't really care that much. If he's ever in interviews, it's him promoting the event that he feels passionate about, like Noche UFC, or him promoting Fight Club or whatever that slap thingy-majig is called. I don't even care.